Hi, everyone. I'm Siris Rivas-Verdejo, and welcome to Choosing a Different Future. I have a wonderful guest today, a lovely friend that actually lives very close by, and yet we never get to see each other because we're always traveling. Dr. Anthony Mattis. Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Siris. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
You're most welcome. I'm so glad we could coordinate schedules and you could be on the show. So, for those of you that don't know Dr. Anthony Mattis, he is a doctor of chiropractics. He is an Access Consciousness certified facilitator, a 3-day body facilitator, and a talk to the entities facilitator. And for all of those things, we could talk hours on any one of those possible titles. And yet, I'd love to talk about and start off with just how you even discovered energy work and access consciousness and these tools that you play with in all these different ways.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I became a chiropractor, I guess. I graduated in 1999, but like the sort of like the energy of what I'm doing and what I'm being and how I'm living my life matches that burning desire that was inside of me since I was probably old enough to start like realizing that I was sort of independent from mom and dad. You
Mm.
know, there was this thing that I knew that was available and out there, but I wasn't sure where to find that or what that was. And so probably ever since I was a little boy, I've been searching and seeking this sort of like this energy or this way of life and this way of living. And so I just tried so many different things along the way. But it really wasn't until I got into chiropractic school, studying all these different healing techniques and different modalities, and so how I got to Access Consciousness is that I'd constantly get so many different emails about different techniques and modalities from people all over the world, and it just sort of kind of showed up in my life at a particular time where I lost my wife at the time to suicide, unfortunately, and was kind of left raising 3 kids by myself, and kind of like, whoa, what the heck, is going on with my life for 2 people who are on such a journey to quote unquote heal naturally, to overcome things, to better ourselves, and all of that. I was like, I have like nothing to show for it. What's going on here? And so Access came at such a great time in my life and the children's life that it's for me, it's been like the most powerful thing I've ever come across so far.
That's really
So
beautiful
grateful.
and so inspiring. And I'm familiar with some aspects of your journey. And yet, one of the things I love about having these discussions with people that I know in some ways and to some extent, we've had some chats about the different things you're asking and mentioning so far. And yet there's always more. I know that there's always more I could find out and that you can invite me to and that my other guests can invite me to. And it sounds like from what you're saying that it's actually shifted things. It was shifted things professionally, personally, and then since you also work with bodies in these unique and dynamic ways, it's also had this impact on your own personal health, not just the psychological, the emotional grieving for your wife, but also the physical.
Yeah.
So, how would you express how these all interweave the professional, and that physical actualization of some of these things that can be very challenging for people?
Yeah, that's a great question. It does, like you said, it does interweave. It's not even like something that's separate. I don't even look at like what I do like for a living as something I do for a living. It's
Yeah.
something. It's like a way of life. It's really just a way of being, and it's like, and I get to sort of like pay forward the things that I've learned with Access from Gary, from Dane, the founder and co-creator of Access Consciousness, and it's like I get to have fun uh, delivering or facilitating these different tools that are really just designed to help people to create the lives that they would like to create and to empower people to know what they already know but maybe have long forgotten. So it's like I don't even look at it as something that I have to get up and go to work and do or something. It's like I do, like, for example, right now my daughter's getting her bars ren, which is a particular technique that we've learned at the very beginning of Access Consciousness, and they're watching Cinderella while she's getting her bars in, right? You know, and so, and it's such a great, valuable tool to not only like help the neural pathways in the brain to create ease and relaxation, but it is something that actually creates for her future. And so, but that's a whole nother story. We can have another call just on that one.
Right. I was just going to say.
But like,
yeah, we don't want to ignore how our choices create future, because that's kind of the name of the show.
Well, and that's just it. And it was like, and even when my wife died, and I love the title of the show, because it's like, okay, she's gone. And it's like, yeah, and I'm going through the grieving, but it's like, okay, what would I like to create for my future? And what choices do I actually have to make right now in these 10 seconds to create a different tomorrow? And so I knew that in certain respects I had a do-over. Maybe maybe the children did it because, they'll never get their mother back. And that was something that was like weighed on my heart heavily. So, as a parent, you want to make sure that your kids are taken care of. You want to make sure that they're happy. You want to, I made sure that I was really present and available for the grieving process and all that, but I involved them in the tools of Access. And you mentioned something before. It's like, not only did Access help me to get through the drama and trauma and through the grieving, there was a point probably about 2.5 years into Access when I realized, like, wow, this work is more than just getting me through my sorrow, my pain and suffering, the drama and trauma. There's actually like palpable magic in this work. And I don't mean like hocus pocus. I mean like clear, tangible, like energy that actually has this way of being turned on, turning on your entire body, like where you feel like every cell and molecule in your body buzzing and vibrating. It's like I have less pain in my body now at 50 than I did when I was 40 and at 35. Okay. And it's not because I get chiropractic adjustments on a regular basis. Sorry for all my wonderful colleagues out there. But it was like, it's because I receive the bars on a regular basis. I receive these amazing body processes. And I go through all these like verbal facilitations and processes where I look at the areas of my life where I might be unconscious or even functioning from anti-consciousness, and I'm willing to look at it and clear it, no matter how uncomfortable it may feel. And so, like, I realized there was tangible magic and power in this work for me to create the life that I always knew was possible. But for whatever reason, I couldn't quite grasp it. No matter how many books I read, no matter how many motivational seminars I went to, no matter how many self-help books, no matter how many gurus I had, and then I did church and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, whoa, cool. And just so grateful. And I just get excited that I get to pay this like forward, like I said, to people all over the world. It's just a lot of fun. And there's no ceiling to it. There really is no ceiling to it's more than just learning more. It's like, it's really just infinite. And it's like, how did I get so lucky? And to watch my kids thrive in the way that they do, to me, says everything about what the tools of Access have provided for our family, and actually making that choice at that time when she had passed away. Because I knew I was going to get a lot of backlash from people from the church, because the church, especially the one that I was going to, but the church in general, has very strong points of view about what you should let into your life. And I don't want to go into this whole conversation about that. That's a whole nother topic for another day too. But
I told you, I was like, there's any one of these things could be hours.
I have major ADD, so it's like I might bring up some real intense topics here, and we can go in any direction you want. But
well, people can let us know what they'd like more from you about. So it's like, just post below. It's like, could we come back to that? Like, post below, everyone.
And we can, but so it was like, and and it's funny because I was like an in the closet Access Consciousness facilitator for like the first year, because I didn't want to hear any crap from people from the church, because I knew they were going to make me wrong. And
it's funny that you say that, because I had that from people, like keeping all the energy work I did, not just Access Consciousness stuff, but from everyone that was my teacher and colleague, friends, the professional. I didn't want to be seen as unprofessional.
Yeah.
I didn't want the children that I worked with to be taken away from me, And now I get that that's exactly what has always been there, what's made me so different and so successful and effective as a therapist. And a lot of the people now seek me out because I acknowledge this
Yeah.
difference, and I'm willing to be like, go ahead, judge away. You don't have to work with me. You can work with this other person, but if you want something really
Yeah.
different that acknowledges
Yeah.
everything that you are, let's play, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one of the
Yeah.
things that, as you're talking, Anthony, that I'm getting, it seems like more and more as you've been on this journey and you're playing with all these tools and you're embracing it, you're diving right in, that you seem to be getting more and more and being more and more of you. And that may
Yeah.
be also part of what you were acknowledging with this amazing shifts that happen with your body, that you're having less pain at 50 than at 40. It's like, I wonder how much more everyone could have that if they're willing to be more of them and not
Yeah.
have that
Bingo.
unconsciousness and anti-consciousness.
Totally. And creating their lives in all the ways that they always maybe desired. And in
Mhm.
some instances, like a lot of people don't even realize they can choose certain things and have actually a happy, joyful life. You know, a
Mhm.
lot of people have these points of view like, oh, I just need to get a job that, has good benefits, and, I can't make a living from something I love to do every day. Like a lot of people have that point of view, and it's like, no, it's like, what if you like got to make a living from what you're great at? Because
Mhm.
it won't even feel like work. It doesn't feel like work. I don't feel like I have a job. I feel like I get to wake up every day and I get to play and I get paid for it. And it's like, how did I get so lucky? So it's like, that's the fun part of what we get to do, is like, we get to help bring out the greatness in people
Yeah, yeah.
that sometimes they didn't even realize is even there, or they
And
forgot.
that's exactly the next place I was going to go, Anthony. Is so here you're speaking to this possibility of what people could choose if they're willing to acknowledge and have what is fun for them, what's joyful for them, what lights them up, what's inspiring and all of that. But what if they don't know what that is yet? Like what if they've been functioning from living and choosing their lives and creating their lives based on other people's points of views up until this
Yeah.
point, and then they hear you talk about that, and then they're like, where do I even start?
Yeah, totally. Totally. And it doesn't have to be this thing like, oh, what do I want to be when I grow up? And you're like 40 years old. It could
Yeah.
just be something simple like, okay, and this is one of the tools we use in Access. Like, okay, if I had 10 seconds to live the rest of my life, what would I like to choose right now? And it could be
Mm.
something simple like, you know what? I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to get me some good old fashioned bacon. And I don't care if it's unhealthy. I don't care, but I'm going to get some good
Done.
old fashioned bacon. It's something simple, or I'm just gonna I got 10 seconds to live the rest of my life. I'm gonna grab my daughter and I'm gonna hug her and let her know how much I love her. And it could just be like those small little increments, but like every time you choose in those 10-second increments, you're not allowing your past to dictate your future. You're not reflecting on the drama and trauma that happened yesterday or 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
Mhm.
You're just in the moment. And every time you're present in the moment, it creates a level of presence for the future, in
Yeah.
your future. So to me, it's that you don't have to know this big idea. That will come. That will come as you start to choose for you. That will come when, for me, it came like, okay, instead of like trying to figure out what it's going to look like 5 years from now, I'm like, okay, no, let's bring it to like right now in this moment, right? If I only had 10 seconds to live the rest of my life, what would I like to choose? And it was amazing because it took all the other noise out of the equation, and it helped me to get right into the present moment. It was so much fun. So start small. Start with the little things.
And that's the key word. And I love that clarification. Thank you, because I think a lot of people would listen to this conversation and think that they have to climb this mountain of choices and of what's possible, and it can lead to this point of view or this perspective of it being like this overwhelm, like, okay, that's too much choice. But if you go and break it down to this 10-second increments that you're talking about, which is one of the keys to total freedom that Dr. Dane here and Gary Douglas talk about in their book, 10 Keys to Total Freedom, or the 10 Commandments to Total Freedom. I love that book. Like, that's one of the great tools that they have in there. And what do you find to be something that helps people have that presence to then live in those 10-second increments more and more. Because it's almost, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, when I first learned about that tool, it was like a building up that muscle. It wasn't this immediate, like, oh, I got this. Like, I had to practice it, and I'm still practicing it and
Yeah.
practicing it, truth be told. And
Yeah.
so what helps actually build and create more presence so that you could benefit from a tool like that?
Yeah, that's a great question because, well, for me, it was okay. So you don't have to be someone who's totally broken to start implementing these tools. Let me just foremost say that. But for me, it was a little bit easier because I was broken by the time I got to Access. Okay, and I was really discouraged, and so it was like I felt like I was already at bottom. And so when the tools started like showing up, I'm like, hey, whatever. What do I got to lose? So I might as well start implementing it. So I was kind of doing it begrudgingly because I invested so much money in all these other modalities and nothing really worked. And so I actually started implementing them right away. And so, again, another tool that what we learn in Access is to live in and as a question,
Mm.
right? And
Mhm.
so it's like I had to remind myself that I didn't have to figure it out. I didn't have to know what next year was going to look like. I didn't know what 5 years from now was going to look like. All I knew, though, at that time was that if I stay stuck, if I continue to wallow in the self-pity, and if I don't start making different choices, my 5 years from now was going to look exactly like it looked like in that moment.
Ooh,
And
that's really
so,
powerful. Woo!
yeah. And I
Wow.
was like, so that was just that voice in my head, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That still
That
small
knowing,
voice, if you will.
like,
Yeah. And
you're gonna, if you
yeah,
keep
well,
choosing
now
the
I can
same,
look back and say, yeah.
yeah, if you keep choosing the same, you're gonna keep having the same. But if you choose
Yeah.
something different, and
I had
you'll have something
the
different.
choice.
But let me take a moment really quick, because I before I forgive me for interrupting you. I just really have to acknowledge, Anthony, the level of bravery and courage that you had in that moment to not give up after trying one thing after the other, after the other, after the other, and still choosing to live and still choosing to create your life for you and for your kids. And I personally am so grateful that you kept choosing to live. You've been such a contribution to my
Thank you.
life and my business. And I see you with your kids. I've seen it, and they're so grateful for you that you have such a beautiful family. And it's
Thank you.
possible with your choice. And I'm getting a little teary-eyed here because I get passionate about kids and families a lot. And it's so
Yeah.
beautiful for me to hear this once again. I never get tired of hearing you talk about this, Anthony, that there's so many people that get so inundated and with
Yeah.
with this hopelessness, with this
Yeah.
idea of, oh, but I've been trying everything, nothing's worked so far, and it's
Yeah.
so tempting to give up.
Yeah. Totally. I felt like, there was, yeah, man, it's gosh, if I could even take you back from when I was a little kid, it's like ever since I was like little, I always felt like I was trying to climb this mountain, but it was like all mud and rocks, and I was working so hard to get nowhere fast. And so it wasn't even just the event of my late wife taking her life and raising kids for a while by myself. It was like my whole life was a struggle and a battle. Even when I was in school, I was put in the remedial classes, and I was made to feel really dumb and stupid. And so then I spent so much of my life trying to prove to the system that I wasn't a dummy. I wasn't this dumb kid. So everything was always a fight and a struggle. And so thank you for that. And but even though like I had felt wrong most of my life, less than, smaller than on so many levels, and it would always have one traumatic event after the other, there was always this like little teeny like flame or light inside my universe that said there's something more, there's something else. You're not those things. You're not less than. The only thing I didn't have was the proof of it. You get
Mm,
what I'm saying? Like I
yeah.
didn't have like the proof according to like this reality standards and points of view. And it
Mm,
really wasn't until and then as I got older and I tried all these different techniques and modalities, I had so many beautiful friends, so many beautiful mentors that saw something in me And no matter how much I tried, no matter how much I implemented their programs and the procedures, I didn't like blossom, if you will. So it really didn't happen and show up until till Access. And it's because of the tools. It's because of the way these tools are and what they created and opened up for me and in my universe. But there was always this little flame inside of me. And I don't know if I came into this world with it or what. I don't know where it came from. I don't remember learning it from anybody, but there was always this flame of like, there's something more.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I guess, how old was I? So I've been doing Access almost 8 years. So I guess I was 42, where I was like, oh. And then every year something more profound would show up. And then the next year something even more profound. I'm like, oh my God. And with all the other techniques and modalities, it was always like the last level. Like when you got to the last level, you're a master. You know what I mean? There's no such
Like,
thing.
what if it's right now? What if it's all here?
It just keeps going. And so I don't know. So there's really no words for it. And thank you for the acknowledgement. I appreciate it. And, but one of the main things I knew I always wanted to be and do when I grew up was to be a dad, was to be a parent. And so when that tragedy showed up, my point of view was like, I'm not going to let this fucking destroy our family.
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Right.
And trust me, there were some low moments, a lot of low moments, but we didn't. I mean, the kids and I brought them all into one room, and for 6 months we all slept together. I say we did it like Native American style. It was like we created our own little teepee, and we used right before we went to bed as an opportunity to talk about our day. Hey, what's going on? Talk about your mom. Do you want to talk to your mom right now? You know what I mean? And so I use that as a time for us to just be vulnerable with each other. And I actually, I had a rule, like no technology Monday through Thursday. And part of the reason was because when the kids got home from school, I wanted to hear about their day. If the TV went on, or if they're on their computers or phones or whatever that case may be, there's no interaction. So it was like I had a pretty strict rule. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's so weird. And I'm like, but that allowed us to talk to each other. And that was a huge instrumental part, I think, of when we were going through that particular time, is to actually be present for the children and to talk with each other. Hey, how you doing? And they would say, hey, I was bullied by so-and-so in school. I'm like, okay, do you need me to call a teacher? Or, hey, I miss mom today. I really wish mom was here so she could see me like going through puberty. You know what I mean? Like all those different types of things. So I don't know. So I'm kind of, again, I'm all over. But I don't know, there was always something inside of me because everybody's like, I don't know how you did it. I don't know. I don't think I would have been able to do the same thing. And first of all, you never know what you're going to choose until that thing shows up in your life. But all I knew is that when it did show up, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to let this destroy our family. If anything, that helped me to step up my game even more. And I'm just grateful for the tools of Access that showed up in life. But I had a lot of amazing mentors along the way and all the different philosophies and religions and all that. I am grateful for them. And it wasn't anything that they did wrong. It was just that whatever those tools weren't strong enough to break whatever curses that were limiting me, because it did feel like that. It felt like I had been cursed forever, because for somebody who was trying so hard to be just a little bit better and to have an easier life financially and with a relationship, and it was like I had nothing to show for it. Like nothing. I'm like, what's going on? It's like everybody else just lives their lives and they seem happy. And I'm like, and I'm doing all this self-help stuff and I'm still miserable. And I'm like, what's going on here? And so, yeah, so here I am. So it took a while, and I'm a work in progress. And but I'm just excited that I get to be there for people and to say, hey, you know what? Your past doesn't have to dictate your future. No event, no matter what the event that you've been through, it doesn't have to determine your future.
That's awesome.
Sorry, that was a lot.
No, and you never have to apologize for your ADD. You never have to apologize for being a lot for me. I love all of your a lot. Bring it on. More of it. Like that's what the world is asking for. And let's just acknowledge for a moment, like what this discussion is creating, like for us individually and together and for the world. I just, the energy of this chat is immense and it's awesome. And I just really, really grateful for it.
Thank you.
And speaking of the world, I'm curious what you would like to see more of in the world, given all of your experiences, given your own personal journey and what you've been seeing in your classes, in your sessions with people. What would you like to see in the world, or invite people to in the world?
Yeah, well, I don't want to sound all metaphysical, but I would just love to see more communion and oneness. So that's like the big picture, right? But you know, it's amazing. It's like when I go to, you know, gosh, I've been to Japan, I've been to India, I've been to China, I've been to New Zealand, I've been pretty much everywhere. And when you get going, you get facilitating, it's like what I see in front of me are not just bodies and cultures and religions and philosophies. I see beings.
Mm-hmm.
I see infinite beings. And all that other stuff are just names and labels that we as human beings have put on people since the beginning of time, whenever that was. And to me, and I'm like, all I see is infinite beings. I see people. I don't see separation. I see where we have created separation, right? But those are all inventions, right? Those are all inventions that we all have been living by. But it's like people are people. People are just, you know, they just want to live their lives. They want to like raise their families, or if they choose to have families, they want to be with their families. They want to enjoy a nice day. They want to like feel good about what they're creating in the world. It's like I was in Moscow, right? And growing up in the 80s, all I heard was about how bad the Russians were, you know what I mean? And all this
Especially
stuff.
in the 80s, you would hear that.
Yeah. And I'm like, so,
All
you
the
know, it's like,
movies, the 80s
right.
movies, they were always the bad guys. Them and the
Yeah, they're always,
Germans.
right? They're always the bad guys. And they're always like big and like dumb and all that. And I'm like, they're beautiful people. And it was, you know, you see, they have street performers too, like we do in New York City and like we do in New Orleans. And they have street performers just like we do. And it's like, they just want to live their lives. I watched a father put his child in the stroller, the athletic stroller that you can go jogging in. I'm like, hey, we do that here in the States. You know what I mean? It's like people just
Little
want to live
things.
their lives. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, what the hell are we doing? It's like it's like 2019 and we're still killing each other over stupid shit because of the color of someone's skin, because of their sexual preferences. You know what I mean? I mean, there's been a lot of progress in that area, but still, it's like, my God, people just, you know what? If you don't like it, mind your own fucking business. But it's like, we're human beings. All of our hearts beat the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't get it. So I would like to see more communion, more ease, and I would like to see a whole fucking lot less of mental illness on this planet. Because I believe wholeheartedly that has been something that has been way mistreated and misdiagnosed, and the fact that you know, pharmaceutical companies are getting richer and richer every year, that's something that gets me, because I feel like people are being overprescribed. I'm not against medicine. If I'm in a lot of pain, I'm going to take an Advil. You know what I mean? I don't have a point of view about it, okay? But what I don't like is how much medicine is prescribed, and how unwilling the allopathic community, not all of them, but as an umbrella, how unwilling they are to look at alternative treatments. They don't have to get involved in them if they don't want to, but at least refer your patients to them, because you know what? We can help those people. We can help those people that you haven't been able to help. And we can help children get off of Prozac. I mean, kids going on Prozac at 10 years old? Are you kidding me?
Those are a lot of the kids that I'm working with. It's really interesting.
Why? To control
what
their
that can
behaviors?
create.
That's another fucking conversation. You want to start? I'll start dropping a lot of F-bombs over that. You know, that pisses me off. And it's like, you know, who you serving doing that? It's like, really? We were born with a deficiency in Prozac? Seriously? You know, I'm sorry. So all I know is it's like if those kids had their bars ran, if their parents learned how to run bars, which anybody can do, you don't
Anyone,
have to be a healer to do it,
correct?
that kid would not need Prozac. I
Mm.
have no doubt in my mind, especially with the tools of Access Consciousness and a lot of the things that you do too with your therapy, that could change the face of mental illness on this planet.
And I love combining it because you're using these tools with your patients. You still see patients and give them chiropractic adjustments.
I
Um,
do.
yeah, and so you don't have to replace this. You can add these tools to your toolbox. It's not that it's one or the other, you know. And that's one of the things that I love that really resonated with me when I started was the founders very clearly say, do keep doing what's working for you. Keep
Exactly.
doing that. Keep choosing that.
Totally.
And pick and choose the aspects. There's like 8,000 tools in Access Consciousness. Pick and choose the ones out of those 8,000 that you can add to your toolbox that'll help you create the life that you'd like to have and have
Yeah,
more ease and more
exactly.
fun with your body. How about that? How about
Yeah.
that? And
Well,
I agree with you with the
consciousness.
mental health. That's huge.
Mm,
I don't think we mentioned that your late wife had mental health issues, and that's another part of why you speak to this from personal experience, and you've seen this firsthand, the impact of this
yeah.
and how it can play out, and what if something else is possible?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, something else is possible, and it'd just be great. I mean, if this sort of thing was well, it is out in the world. It's just not commonplace,
Yeah,
But what if it was a regular part of everybody's life on a daily basis?
like
To me,
brushing your teeth.
yeah, there wouldn't be any war from my point of view. There wouldn't be people, maybe may not. Well, there's still hand to hand combat type stuff, but it's like now you have this sophisticated warfare now where people sit in an office, they press a little button, and some
Yeah.
satellite drops a bomb, or some missile gets released somewhere and blows up a village. It's like really that okay, so we're evolving that way, but we're not evolving in consciousness. I don't understand, but I would like to see more evolution in consciousness, more community, more oneness. And like we say in Access, consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. I love all the different cultures. I love, the way they do things, and the points of view are fun. The only time that I'm like, okay, if your point of view is actually limiting you, then maybe you may want to look at something else. But it's still fun to see different rituals and the different things different cultures do. It's just fun, and it makes them happy. It's like a celebration. It's like a party, and but to where it creates separation and war, that I'm like scratching my head over that still. It's like, come on, people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, Anthony. Thank you so much for this discussion. Everyone who's watching this, like, please feel free to message Anthony, post questions below. He's really great about actually responding to individual messages. So if you would like to message him through Facebook, he's on Facebook. We'll have all of his contact information below in the description of this video, and or audio if you're listening to it on SoundCloud. Thank you again. This has been so fun. And like I said, I knew from the beginning we could talk about a whole bunch of things. But if you would like any more chats with Anthony, message us, let us know, and let us know what topics you would like us to talk about, because we've mentioned at least 8 that we can have a whole other conversation about. And gosh, that would be just really, really fun. You're welcome back anytime, Anthony. And everyone, if you like this chat, feel free to spread it around, send it to anyone that you think would benefit from this conversation. Like the video, subscribe to our channel, and check out our website, choosingadifferentfuture.com. Would you like to say anything else before we part ways?
No, just thank you for the invitation. I'm grateful, and really, what else is possible for your lives and for your living that you haven't even considered?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. Bye.
Bye bye.